If you've been following my Bleach gameplay videos, then you'll know that I have covered the Bleach games released on the PS2 and PS3. Now, when it comes to those games, I had no familiarity or nostalgia attached to them. But as far as the PSP is concerned, I literally grew up on the first few Bleach games released on the PSP. I remember installing custom firmware on my PSP back in 2006, and one of the first games that I had downloaded and played was Bleach Heat the Soul. Now, back then I'd played until Bleach Heat the Soul 4, and I'd started to get the basic idea behind this series of games, but I didn't really continue until its final installment, which was Heat the Soul 7. So I'm going to be very excited to see how Heat the Soul 7 compares to the earlier entries in the series that I genuinely have a lot of nostalgia for. The PSP by far had the largest number of Bleach games released on it out of any other gaming platform, with a total of 9 games released, 7 from the Heat the Soul series and 2 from the Soul Carnival series. Now, unfortunately, none of these games were localized and they were exclusively released within Japan. Now, luckily for English-speaking fans, the PSP did fall victim to a great deal of piracy immediately after launch. Now, I was 13 at the time and it felt like I'd opened Pandora's box. Now, with the entire library of PSP games available to play as long as I was patient enough to wait for them to download, this is how I came to know about the Bleach games that were released on the PSP that I would play for hours on end while watching the Anime Weekly during the Aranka arc at the time. So enough about me, let's now start by covering the infamous Heat the Soul series so that we can understand why it's fondly remembered by fans like myself even to this day. Now, the Heat the Soul series of games was released on the PSP with all 7 installments being developed by Eighting, and they were published by Sony Computer Entertainment Inc. Heat the Soul is a series of 3D cel-shaded fighting games, and they really pushed the PSP to its limits by the time that the final installment was released. Each release featured multiple game modes, with subsequent releases carrying forward the new methods of play. In addition to this, the Heat the Soul games featured a story mode that was constantly updated with each new release, meaning that the new installments would regularly feature new characters. The story mode within a typical Heat the Soul game takes no more than 2 hours to complete, and it gives you the opportunity to earn points so that you can unlock more characters or arenas. There were 7 games in the Heat the Soul series released between 2005 to 2010. These games feature a very enjoyable gameplay style as we take part in 1v1 battles with the aim of taking out your enemy using basic attacks and special attacks. The abilities and characters that feature within the game are faithful to the source material, and each new installment adds something new which keeps players coming back for more. Like I've mentioned, the new installments in the series featured updates to the gameplay. For example, from Heat the Soul 3, it was made possible to select support characters who assist you in battle, with each of these support characters having their own unique abilities being assigned to them. Now that we have explained the basic history behind the Heat the Soul series, let's dive into the games. For the purposes of this video, I want to go through 3 out of the 7 games in order to see how these games grew over time. I will be going over Heat the Soul 1, 4, and its final installment 7. Now let's start with the first entry in the series. So Bleach Heat the Soul 1 was released in Japan on the 24th of March 2005. Another fun fact about this game is that it was the first Bleach game that was ever released, even predating the first Bleach game released on the PS2. It features the first anime opening as its theme song, which is of course Asterisk, sang by the band Orange Range. The story of this game is limited to the first arc, the Substitute Shinigami arc, and it features the very limited roster of 6 playable characters which are from said story arc. Now, this humble start to the Heat the Soul series will show you just how far they have come with each new release. Typically, the Heat the Soul games features voiceover work from the anime cast members. We can hear them in-game as well as during story sequences. We'll start by having a one-on-one battle to see how the gameplay is like. So I'll select Ichigo as my main character. Now, this game is really nostalgic for me. I remember playing this back when I was a kid, and surprisingly, the graphics appear to have aged pretty well. Now, this is of course not the native resolution of the PSP. There'd be a lot of pixels and it'd be really blurry. For the purposes of this video, I'm running these games on a PSP emulator and I'll upscale the graphics, so it does look slightly better than what you'd expect from the small screen of the PSP. With the basic controls of this game, you jump with triangle, so X gives you a weak attack, while circle lets you do a strong attack. So with the square button, you can actually charge your Reiatsu, but with it being full, there's no need. So there are special moves that you can do with like square and X. Now, I will have to admit, like, the polygon count on this is not the highest, which results in characters feeling really blocky blocky. Still, it looks good in my opinion. Like, the arenas look nice. You can tell that it's an anime world. It's bright, colorful, and visually impressive. You can see that there are really smooth, animated, cel-shaded graphics here. I'd say that the graphics are jumping off of the screen. I think they've done a good job with the character models. So we're facing off against Orihime in this battle. You know, they've done a good job of translating over the movesets with the very limited knowledge that they had about these characters. I mean, at the time, this game was in production even before the release of the first episode of the anime. The first episode had released in October of 2004, and this game was released in March of 2005. This game was released less than 5 months from the premiere of the first episode in the anime, so they probably didn't have much material to adapt into this game. But regardless of this is a solid first entry. Now, this game really does give us an idea of things to come. I mean, it's not the most technical fighter, but it's very enjoyable. Another complaint that is commonly mentioned about the first Heat the Soul game is that there's only a handful of playable characters. I mean, you've got Ichigo, Uryu, Chad, Orihime, Rukia, and lastly Renji, who you can unlock later on in the game. Chad is always pretty difficult in these games. I mean, we had trouble with him in the Blade Battler series, and in the Heat the Soul series he's proving to be just as annoying. We'll play one more game, and I think we've got a solid idea of the first Heat the Soul game before moving on to the fourth entry. Facing off against Rukia in this battle, you can see that each of the characters have their own unique playset, so no two characters will play the same. Obviously, Ichigo's got his large, oversized Zanpakuto, which really comes in handy, because you can really take out people's hitboxes from a distance. Ichigo definitely needs to be nerfed. Wow. These were the early days of the series. Like, this is when Bleach was a hot thing, man. The Soul Society arc wasn't even completed at this time. The anime was newly released. It was genuinely a really fun time to be a Bleach fan. So I think we've got a basic idea of Bleach Heat the Soul 1. Let's now move on to our next game, which is going to be the fourth installment in the series, Heat the Soul 4. So the fourth installment of the Heat the Soul series fits perfectly as the midpoint of this series of games. It was released on the 24th of May 2007, which was just over 2 years after the first game's release. Heat the Soul 4 features a total of 51 playable characters and 20 or so support characters, and the story centers around the Arrancar invasion of Karakura Town, and it takes us all the way up until Ichigo entering Hueco Mundo. Unlike the last 3 games, this one has a character master mode, which allows you to level up a character and to unlock alternate costumes for them. Now, this game is genuinely so much fun, and it's a teaser for the final installment in the Heat the Soul series. Heat the Soul 4 introduces us to EX forms of playable characters. Now, these are character forms from prior to the Arrancar arc, meaning that the normal forms of the playable characters stem from their present story appearance within the game. This appears to be the case for characters like Ginichimaru and Aizen, who had a notable change in character design after the Soul Society arc. So you've got the differentiation of Ginichimaru's Shinigami attire with the EX label, and while he is donning the Arrancar robe, that's just his normal outfit. What we'll do is we'll play a basic free battle mode. I'll obviously be Bankai Ichigo. There's quite a few characters that you can pick as support characters. All of the characters in green are only support characters, while the characters in blue are playable and support characters. Surprisingly, they've got filler characters here from the Bound filler. Wow, so I'll have Zangetsu, of course, as one of my support characters, and why not? Let's have Urahara as a second support character. Now, in terms of our enemy, we'll go with Ukiara, and supporting Ukiara will, of course, be Aizen, and we'll do Gin. Now, there's quite a few playable stages here, a lot more than Heat the Soul 1, and a lot of these stages are very vibrant and eye-catching. We'll battle here, I think it appears to be Karakura Town at night. You can see once again their cel-shaded characters as excellent bright backgrounds, vibrant graphics. I mean, 50 characters to play with is such a strong point, and each of them having their own unique abilities, and no two characters feel the same. This is honestly such a change from the first game. It feels so much more fast and action-packed. This is what I was playing as a kid. This was so much fun to play on a handheld device. It's literally everything that you could wish for in a Bleach game. This new entry, you can actually have your support characters assist you by pressing L. So I think it gives you a power buff, so in this case we've got attack up. So the support characters either buff you or debuff your opponent. Like with the first game, the controls are very similar. You've got circle for a strong attack, X for a weak attack. If you hold square, you can charge your Reiatsu, like that. And then you've got special combos, so you can press square and circle. There you go, that's one special attack. The additional special abilities come from square and X and square and triangle. So you've got character master mode, which was the new mode that was added to this game, and then you've got mission battle, of course, is just playing through the story mode. So you've got free mission, so it will obviously be Ichigo. Wow, so here you go. So you can play through any one of the stages here. Several encounters with Grimmjow that occur, each of them is here. So let's do this one here. You can tell most of the story within this game is during the Arrancar invasion of Karakura Town. Wow, I'm so impressed with the backgrounds of the character models. It's just popping off of the screen, the colors. I think they've done such a good job. Wow. It's honestly so fast paced. If you've never played Heat the Soul, you're really missing out. These games are incredibly fun. With the number of playable characters, you're doing yourself a disservice by not playing these games. So we've done square and circle. Let's try square and X. Wow. After this, we'll move on to Heat the Soul 7. This is so impressive. These games have stood up to the test of time. It was released in 2007 and I'm having fun in 2022 playing it. Okay. It was just proving to be pretty difficult. The game's not easy. I think in story mode, you can change the difficulty of the CPU, and it really does add a challenge to the gameplay. Oh my god. Okay. I said it in my PS3 video, I'm not the best at games. You might have more luck than I do at playing games. I think I have to meet a certain condition in order to beat Grimmjow, but it's not happening. Maybe I can only inflict damage on Grimmjow when I've got a Hollow Mask equipped. Every other attack's not doing anything. I don't know Japanese, so I don't know the conditions of this fight. Grimmjow's a beast. You can see that there's quite a few modes that you can actually play with, even in versus CPU mode. You've got time attack mode, survival mode. So we'll have a go at the 100 survival mode. The number of arenas and the number of playable characters is unreal. I wonder how they fit this within a PSP game. Honestly, it looks amazing. Just look at the colors, look at the sky, look at the character models. So I have to have 100 wins against this enemy, and he gets harder and harder with every time that I've defeated him. These are fun modes, man. Really challenging modes. You can test out your abilities. Heat the Soul gets a solid like 8 or 9 out of 10 for me. I think the only thing is, I just wish that it was released on a home console. I mean, this would be such a fun fighter. It's a shame that it's just handheld. We're on 21 wins. Let's just see how many we can get, and then we'll move on to Heat the Soul 7. 29 wins. Okay, let's get to 30. The gameplay is honestly so fast paced. We managed to get to 37 wins. Not too bad. 37 out of 100. That was Bleach Heat the Soul 4, an incredibly fun experience. You know, over 50 characters, 20 support characters. Like I've said several times, beautiful, vibrant, eye-catching graphics. The cel-shaded characters really make you feel like they've popped straight out of the anime and onto the PSP. Bleach Heat the Soul 4 is an amazing entry in this series, and I'm really excited to see what they've done with Heat the Soul 7. Without further delay, let's talk about the final game in this series, Bleach Heat the Soul 7. Bleach Heat the Soul 7 was released on the 2nd of September 2010. I describe Heat the Soul 7 as an impressive final entry to one of the most memorable series of anime games that I have ever played. The 7th installment features a jaw-dropping 84 playable characters, with new additions being the resurrections of Stark, Barrack and Haribel, just to name a few. This game even features movie-exclusive characters like Senna, Dark Rukia and even Shuren from Bleach Movie 4. You can see that the characters have different forms, like Ichigo's got his attire from the Substitute Shinigami arc, then the normal Shikai attire, and then he's got his Bankai attire. So each one having a totally different moveset, which makes them their own individual playable characters. A bit like Dragon Ball Z Budokai Tenkaichi if you've played those games. In addition to being able to select the forms, this game does allow you to change forms during battle, and it depends on if you have enough Reiatsu. So if you meet the conditions for transformation, you can activate a character's respective Bankai or Resurrection by pressing L and R together. Now, with that change being said, everything else pretty much stays the same in terms of the controls. You counter with R, you change your character with L if you're in tag mode, and of course strong attack, weak attack and jump, as well as charging your Reiatsu have all stayed the same since the first game. So here we're facing off against standard Ichigo. So I've selected arcade mode, so we'll just play through a couple of battles, get an actual feel of the game. So you can see that not much has changed in terms of like graphics and gameplay. We've had just a lot of new characters and some new arenas added. It would have been nice if there was an 8th installment, we would have had all the Fullbringers within the game, but I think the PSP was actually being phased out by the time that this game released in 2010. The Heat the Soul series ran for 7 games, they were released over 5 years, so they definitely worked hard, got their money's worth out of the series. Oh wow. So they've got different special attacks. Wow, Ichigo's special attack has changed in this game, that's amazing. I'm so impressed with the Heat the Soul games. Heat the Soul 7 is just unreal as well. Some people cite this as, you know, one of the best Bleach games ever made. I think there were fans who were working on an English translation patch for this game last year, which proves that 11 years after release it's still pretty relevant. Also on YouTube there are several mods of this game, which goes to show that having loads of playable characters in an anime fighting game is clearly the formula for success. So again, you can see that in terms of gameplay, I mean, it's exactly the same as Heat the Soul 4, with the addition of some new special attack animations, more playable characters and more gameplay modes really. Okay, come on Orihime. That. It's a shame that most of these Bleach games just weren't localized and weren't released outside of Japan. I think a lot of people would have had fun with Heat the Soul. There would have been a market for the Heat the Soul games as well. I mean, at least, you know, if they released like 3 or 2 of the games. Could have released Heat the Soul 3 and Heat the Soul 7, and I think a lot of English fans would have been happy with that. God, she's spamming one attack. Okay, finally. I think the only downside with these games is that if you were playing each installment one after the other, then it would feel like not much is changing. There are only going to be minor differences between Heat the Soul 6 and 7, but obviously if you've jumped from 4 to 7, then it's worthwhile. I wouldn't recommend playing through every single one. I'd say you could play through either one of Heat the Soul 1, 2, or 3, and then just go straight to Heat the Soul 7. So you've got a solid idea how these games actually work and play through. In terms of fun, you're going to have the most fun with Heat the Soul 7. Okay, we're back against Chad, who's proven to be difficult in every single game that I've played so far, so I'm not even gonna give him an opportunity. Sorry, bro. Oh my god. That was dangerous. This guy, Chad, man, you don't want to underestimate him. He's more powerful in these games than he is in the series. Oh my god. He's activated both arms. After this fight, we're just gonna move on to the next game. Okay, let's go. Oh my god. I want to know, what are your thoughts about these games? Have you played these Heat the Soul games before? Do you have nostalgia for them? Do you think that they hold up to the test of time? I mean, look at these graphics. I mean, with the PSP upscaled, it looks like I'm playing a PlayStation 2 game. You know, we didn't have a one-on-one fighter on the PS2. It was more like an arena brawler with the Blade Battlers games. Finally, that was a difficult fight. These arcade mode battles in Heat the Soul are pretty difficult. But yeah, this was Bleach Heat the Soul 7. This was an excellent final entry into the Heat the Soul series. I cannot believe that there are over 84 playable characters within this game. It's such a fun experience, and it's a game that I think every Bleach fan needs to play at least once. So we're going to be moving on to our final PSP game, which of course is Bleach Soul Carnival 2. For the purposes of this video, I'm going to be covering the Bleach Soul Carnival series through its second and final installment, which should give us an idea as to what they were trying to do with these games. Bleach Soul Carnival 2 is an action role-playing game that was released on the 10th of December 2009, so it was released before Bleach Heat the Soul 7. Soul Carnival features the Bleach characters in a miniature chibi form. The story of the second Soul Carnival game takes place from the start of the manga all the way up until Ichigo defeats Ukiura, so we've got a total of 34 stages that you play through, and it takes you through the entirety of that story. Now, the story in this game is told through voiceover, text, and stills from the anime, and in terms of gameplay, you can control a variety of characters from Bleach as you take part in several side-scrolling missions with the aim of defeating a boss at the end of the mission. Now, there are 3 maps that you get familiar with: Karakura Town, Soul Society, and Hueco Mundo, and to unlock the maps you need to play through the story, and the same applies for the characters. As for the most part, you do control Ichigo, but the more that you play through the story, you will unlock more and more playable characters, and the game features 16 playable characters in total, with an impressive number of 120 support characters. As you can see, Bleach Soul Carnival has very simplistic visuals, but despite the simplistic visuals, this series of games does have its fans. Personally, I never really enjoyed these games. In my opinion, they are too simplistic and tedious, as the main objective of the game is just hacking and slashing through fodder enemies until you reach a final boss battle. These games do have a very linear gameplay style, and the only thing that does redeem it in my opinion is its great visuals. I love the chibi characters. Bleach Soul Carnival is still worth checking out if you're a Bleach fan. It's not for everyone, and it's certainly not for me, and I know that a lot of people do have nostalgia for these games, but I just couldn't get into them. I remember downloading Soul Carnival 1 at the time and I just found it really boring. I didn't enjoy how these Soul Carnival games retold the Bleach story, with stills from the anime and text boxes that you can't even skip through. I mean, if I had a choice between Soul Carnival and Heat the Soul, I'd definitely choose Heat the Soul. I mean, check it out, you've got this really basic side-scrolling gameplay style. It feels more like a mobile game than an actual fully fledged PSP game in my opinion. If this was on Android or iOS, I'd understand. I mean, on the PSP we've had the Heat the Soul games and I just think that they could have done better. In Rockjin were the guys who had done the Blade Battlers games, and they had also released Bleach Soul Resurrection on the PS3. They had left their mark on the PSP by creating Bleach Soul Carnival. I don't like Bleach Soul Carnival at all. So this was my experience of Bleach games on the PSP. We spoke extensively about the Heat the Soul series and I expressed my indifference for the Soul Carnival games. Now I really do think that the PSP was a flagship device for Bleach games. Even Kubo had used the design of the PSP as the basis for Yu-Gi-Oh's Fullbring. Now this is a testament to the number of Bleach titles that were released on this platform. Now with this video completed, we have actually covered all of the Bleach games that were released on Sony consoles, and now this leaves us with Bleach games that were released on the GameCube, Wii and Nintendo DS. So definitely stick around and subscribe to the channel so that you're the first to see my latest Bleach gameplay videos. Also, let me know if you played any of these games growing up. I'd love to hear about your experiences with them and if you disagree with me about the Bleach Soul Carnival games. Now once again, thank you for making it to the end of this video and I can't wait to see you in my next Bleach gameplay video. If you enjoyed this video and would like to see more like it, then please consider supporting my channel on Patreon. I have multiple tiers with rewards including access to an exclusive Discord server, video scripts, as well as being the first to know about unreleased upcoming videos. Thank you for your time and whatever you choose to contribute I will appreciate and it will mean a lot to me.